I'm gonna need some food and water for me to review this movie. Well, at least I already had my meal, my breakfast, and I drank water, so on to the review. Hey guys, this is Frozen Things Studios here, and welcome back to another movie review. And today, I am going to be doing a review on War for the Planet of the Apes. So, War for the Planet of the Apes is the third and final film in the Planet of the Apes trilogy. The trilogy, the Caesar trilogy, the prequel slash reboot trilogy, and it's directed once again by Matt Reeves, who previously directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and it stars Andy Serkis, Woody Harrelson, Karen Conoval, Terry Notary, Steve Zahn, Amia Miller, Ty Olson, Toby Cabell, Michael Adam Thiwaite, etc., and Judy Gear, etc. And so War for the Planet of the Apes tells a story taking place 2 years after the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, where the war that Kova started still rages on as Caesar and his apes are forced into a deadly conflict with an army of humans led by a ruthless colonel, played by Woody Harrelson. After the apes suffer unimaginable losses, Caesar wrestles with his darker instincts and begins his own mythic quest to avenge his kind. And as the journey finally brings them face to face, Caesar and the colonel are pitted against each other in an epic battle that will determine the fate of both their species and the future of the planet. The colonel murders Caesar's family, his wife and kids, and he leads them into a path of revenge. And during the time of war, but yeah, Caesar must decide for himself. Will he go down the same path as Koba, the ape who hates humans and wants to kill them, or will Caesar continue to show compassion for the humans? Well, at first when he sees the colonel murder his family, Caesar decides that humans are bad. But then, as the journey goes along, he realizes that humans are actually are truly not that bad, and the colonel is just an example of a bad man. So yeah, now yes, this movie. Now I just want to start by saying that this is one of my subscribers, Luke Newcomb's movie reviews. This is his favorite movie of all time. Yeah, the Planet of the Apes trilogy is his favorite franchise of all time, and yes, War is his favorite film. So huge shout out to him, and I can kind of see why he put this as his favorite movie of all time. And I remember walking out of the theater, my thoughts on the film were completely different, as I was not a film critic at that time. I was already a film buff, and I did review movies, but I wasn't really that mature enough, so I would just judge a movie based on how enjoyable it is. I mean mature in, like, watching movies, like, I'm sure you know what I mean by that. So coming out of War for the Planet of the Apes, when I saw it in theaters, I said to myself, this movie is good, but I liked it. I said I liked it, but I expected more from it because it's a very slow film. It's a film titled War for the Planet of the Apes, but there's like a lack of war, a lack of even action scenes in this film. So at first, I didn't really have a clear understanding of this movie. Now, yes, I'm sure you guys remember me raving the hell out of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. As I call that the best film in the trilogy. Just like most people, even though I wasn't aware until now that Dawn is the fan favorite, I thought I thought I was just in the minority preferring that, but guess not. Guess not. But as I became a critic, as time went on, as I started to understand more about filmmaking, I realized what War for the Planet of the Apes truly is. And I'll get into my thoughts later on, Yeah, despite me being disappointed with this film back then, being a bit underwhelmed, I always liked this film. There was never a time when I went negative on it. And yes, I am aware that this is actually a pretty divisive film, as there are some people who there are some people who absolutely love and cherish this film, and would even go as far as calling this their favorite in the trilogy. And like some of my subscribers, like Luke Newcomb and also Harry Thomas Pictures, shout out to him for that. Call this their favorite in the Planet of the Apes trilogy, the Caesar trilogy. And then there are others who would call this movie overrated and disappointing. I would even say that this is the weakest in the trilogy, mainly because of how this is a very slow paced film with very, very little action. Yeah, Matt Reeves decided to take the Planet of the Apes trilogy into an art house direction. Art house direction where yeah it felt like an art house film. It felt like an indie film, believe it or not. Or maybe it felt like something as slow paced as something like Dune Part One. I guess yeah. Well, I stand by saying my done the Planet of the Apes review that I would have chosen a better title this film, like The Fate of Planet of the Apes, or hell, even Revenge of the Planet of the Apes, because it's a film about Caesar's wanting revenge on humans for killing their kind. Though I will say I actually understand as to why this film has the title War in it. Unlike some people who just don't pay attention and just want to see literal war, I actually understand why it's called War. It's not it's not meant literally. It's not all war between apes and humans. It's not like what we saw in Done. It's about the journey to the war. While Caesar has a war with his inner self, determining if he will go down the same path as Koba, or if he'll just be himself. Yeah, this is the war in the title is basically a metaphor for Caesar just trying to wrestle with his inner demons. I mean, as much as this film has its war moments, it's actually about Caesar going to war with its inner demons. So therefore, the war title is technically metaphorical. Hopefully, this helped you all brain dead morons understand the title now. And yes. And yes, while the film is while the title War is metaphorical, it's actually it does pay over. The title is a nod literally. Well, I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, the War title is technically a nod to like. I mean, it takes itself literally at times, as in. It's a nod to other war films as well. The film is basically like Apocalypse Now, where it doesn't have a lot of war scenes, but rather it's about the journey to the war. In fact, the film's plot is actually very similar to Apocalypse Now, where the soldiers would go on a journey to assassinate Colonel Kurtz, who is pretty much in this film. The Colonel's Woody Harrelson's Colonel is actually very similar to Colonel Kurtz, and you got this action scene in the beginning of the film that is similar to Platoon. Yeah, the action scene in the beginning really reminded me of Platoon. But yeah, and yes, guys. Anyways, as for my thoughts in the film, my personal thoughts as of now as a critic, War for the Planet of the Apes is such a freaking masterpiece. Yes, sure, I still think Dawn is my favorite Planet of the Apes film, but War for the Planet of the Apes is still a freaking masterpiece. I absolutely love this movie, and I can understand why people love this movie so much. I'm totally in that side. I am not in that side of people who just looks for action scenes. The slow burn in this film actually works, and I'll explain to it in a bit. Yeah. But I think I already explained what makes this film really good. Despite it being much lower than the other Planet of the Apes films, it actually does feel engaging throughout it, and I love how this film decided to go for the art house route. Matt Reeves decided to take the Planet of the Apes franchise into a more make it more artsy. And the plot of this movie is really good. It's no Dawn. It's not as powerful as Dawn, but it still has powerful stuff in it. And yeah, there is just so much to love about this film. And it is certainly my top 10 favorite movies 2017 list. Even though I would personally put it a bit on the lower end of my favorite movies 2017 list. And yeah, so. Now, before I want to talk more about these themes and messages, first, I want to talk more about some of the other aspects, specifically the technical ones. Michael Giacchino's score has to be mentioned because this has hands down the best score in a Planet of the Apes film. Like, it's just so beautiful, especially with both the soft music on the piano or the epic music with the drums, like similar to Bum bum bum. Yeah, I'm actually tapping a table, by the way, if you're wondering. Yeah, Michael Giacchino's score should have got an Oscar nomination, but no, but the Oscars couldn't even recognize it. That's a shame. And boy, the visuals and cinematography, they are the most gorgeous you'll ever see in a Planet of the Apes film. The CGI is taken to a whole new level. It had a well-deserved Oscar nomination. Although I think Blade Runner 2049 winning, that was the right movie to win. But I think the cinematography is what truly stood out from the visual department. From the bleak shot of the opening action scene to the painting-like shot of the sunlight in the ending, the cinematography is an absolute tour de force. My personal favorite shot in the film was in the scene in the middle act when after Caesar was captured by an evil ape and was taken to the colonel's base. And then we see Caesar waking up in that base, and the camera points directly at the colonel while Caesar's waking up. And then the camera like is shot in a Dutch angle, similar to like Mission Impossible. By the way, I'm actually studying film now in my college and like as a subject, and I'm like pretty much learning all these things. So yeah, expect my reviews to get more and more professional. So I mean, that's actually why my reviews have become more professional nowadays, because I've been like learning so much from film, and I'm applying them to my reviews. So yeah, how the Dutch shot was done, Dutch angle shot was done was so unique and unexpected to this franchise. While the stakes are relatively lower than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, this film has a bigger ambition. Plus, it's darker and more bleak in tone. That is because of Caesar's character change, where he goes from someone who sees the good and bad sides in humans in Dawn, to fully seeing the humans as pure 100% evil in this film, thanks to his family being murdered, his wife and kids. Not only was it the colonel's fault for just killing them in the first place, but it's also Caesar's fault for not being there for his family when they were killed. His decision to go separate ways, only for him to actually not be alert about his family's killings. That is a sign saying that Caesar is not perfect leader, and that's what's so fascinating about Caesar's character in this, because he is not perfect. He's not a perfect leader. He makes mistakes. He makes bad decisions, and that's what I love about Caesar in this film. The film shows that Caesar's imperfections, even, which is something that they didn't do in Dawn. That is why I think Caesar was at his best in this film. This, and like what I said earlier, this is essentially a revenge story of Caesar wanting to kill the colonel, but at the end he chooses to show mercy to the colonel, because he's not that guy. He doesn't want to be the next Koba. He doesn't want to kill people. He doesn't want to, despite his anger, his the fact that he wants to hunt the humans. I mean, he did make the right choice at the end to not kill the colonel. The film does have a really good message about the choices you make, and it's okay to wrestle with yourself. It's okay to start a war with your inner demons, as long as you know what's right and what's wrong when it comes to the conclusion. While the Colonel isn't as strong as Koba, he is such a well-written villain who, just like Koba, you feel sympathy for, but at the same time, you really hate him specifically for killing Caesar's family. But he's sympathetic because of his story about his son, when Colonel's son had called the flu, and he had a flu, and the Colonel had no choice but to shoot his son, not only to save himself but to also save his son. And so you really feel sympathetic for him. And by the end, he gets himself killed instead of Caesar killing him. Yeah, that is some great writing right there. I absolutely love the way that they wrote Colonel. And I gotta say, the Colonel is without question Woody Harrelson's best role ever. I mean, I will admit though, when I first heard that Woody Harrelson was going to play the Colonel, I will admit I was not aware of Woody Harrelson's more serious and dramatic roles, like The Edge of 17, which you all know how much I love that movie if you remember my review on that film last year. Yeah, I was not aware of Woody Harrelson's roles like that. I mostly knew Woody Harrelson as his more comedic roles, like films like Zombieland or and a bunch of animated films. I was not aware of. I was like thinking, him like a comedic villain playing a serious role, playing a villain role. Yeah, when I read the article, I was like kind of skeptical, but I gotta say, Woody Harrelson do more roles like this, boys, because this is Woody Harrelson at his best. And I was just so blown away by how good he was at playing a serious role, despite being more known for his comedy. But if I actually did watch Enter 17 and see Woody Harrelson in it before War, then I would have seen him. I would have saw more of his potential and would be like, oh, I think he's gonna play a great villain, considering that he was able to knock a serious role out of the park with Edge of 17. So that says something. And man, yeah, this is way better than Jake from Free Birds. Oh, yeah. And all the other performances in this film are also as good. Yeah, I think the best performance in this film is clearly Andy Serkis as Caesar. I actually barely talked about him in my previous Planet of the Apes review. So yeah, I'm now more confident to talk about his Caesar in this one, because Andy Serkis gave one of the greatest motion capture performances as Caesar by far. I absolutely love his performance as Caesar, and yeah, I really do think that the Academy should the Academy should recognize motion capture performances more, because Andy Serkis is just the perfect example of how great motion capture performances are like. I still think Gollum is Andy Serkis' best role from Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's no surprise. Considering if you saw my Letterboxd lately, you probably know how much I love Return of the King. And yes, guys, I will review Return of the King soon. And Gollum is one of my favorite characters. One of my top three favorite characters in Lord of the Rings. At one point I called it my favorite character, but I'm not sure if that holds up now. We'll see. But yeah, Caesar's a close second. I gotta say. Another character who I really love is Nova. Besides Caesar himself, Nova is probably my favorite character in the film. I love how silent she is, and at the same time, she's the heart and soul of the film. She restores Caesar's faith in humans, and is even the most compassionate character in this entire franchise. Not just the trilogy, but even counting the older Planet of the Apes films. I'm at this point, I'm debating if Nova or Ellie is my favorite Planet of the Apes character, my favorite Planet of the Apes human character, but I love both equally. And I gotta say, the child actress who plays her, Amia Meller, yeah, she definitely deserves some credit. And yes, 2017 is one of the best years for when it comes to these child actresses. I mean, first we got that Daphne Keane from Logan, who I think gave the best performance of 2017, alongside Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And now we got Amia Miller as this one, who arguably gave a better performance than Woody Harrelson, and she's literally, her performance in this is literally on the same level as good as Andy Serkis Caesar. Yeah, and she's just adorable. Yeah, we need more Nova. And where was I? Oh yeah, and I also like Bad Ape as well. Steve Zahn. Yeah, another actor who's pretty much whose presence in this film is kind of questionable when you see him in a cast, because I mean, you may know him as from the guy who played the father in Diary of a Wicked. Yeah, he played the father, forgot his name, but in the live action Diary of a Wicked films. And don't get me wrong, I will admit though, Steve Zahn is one of the best parts of the Diary of a Wicked films, live action films, alongside Roderick. Yeah, besides Roderick, he's probably my favorite. But him being cast in a Planet of the Apes film, it sounds questionable at first, but considering that Bad Ape is a comedic character, it actually kind of works for him. But yeah, it's actually very easy for the comedy to be a flaw in the movie. It's not hard for me to criticize this movie for its comedy, but I gotta say, The comedy in this movie is absolutely spot on. I think that this is a hilarious. I mean, and this is a very funny. Like Bad Ape is hilarious, and he has a lot of charm. And for a film with a dark and bleak tone, the humor surprisingly works. I mean, Bad Ape does have some funny lines. Like every time something happens, Bad Ape is like, "Oh no!" Yeah, that is hilarious. And this movie knows how to include comedic timing on the right time. Yeah, the movie really nails it with its comedic timing. It knows very well on when to put comedy. And unlike a lot of blockbusters nowadays where it's serious but then it gets ruined by its comedy. So that's something. And despite having very little action scenes, the two massive war scenes we do get at the beginning and at the end were absolutely epic. I mean, that beginning where I compared it to Platoon earlier, yeah, that is a war right there. That literally screams war for the Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes, and also we get this and also and that wasn't enough. I mean, the final battle is even more epic. The people who call this movie overrated say that the final battle felt anticlimactic, though the war film scenes I don't find it anticlimactic at all. It's actually very impactful. And yeah, my personal favorite scene in the film was when Red Donkey, the bad ape who was on the soldier side, redeems himself. Yeah, in his redemption arc, after Caesar got shot by one of the soldiers, specifically the one who was talking to Caesar at the beginning of the film, and literally spoke to it was literally the only one of the only survivors in the opening fight. Yeah, shot him with an arrow. Pretty much he was the one who killed Caesar, by the way. And then Red Donkey saved Caesar. Literally helped Caesar by shooting that soldier. So yeah, and yeah, that redemption arc. It made you want to go. It made me want to go. Yes, hell yes. But suddenly, yeah, he got shot by a soldier, by his ally for turning back at him, and it's just sad. I mean, Red Donkey could have actually been in Abe's side, but if only he wasn't killed off, and that's just sad. And then yeah, Caesar throws the bomb at the gases, blowing up the entire base, and yeah, what an epic scene. And having an avalanche scene just makes things even bigger. Oh yeah, and also before I talk about that ending, I just want to talk about the dialogue as well. Yeah, well, just like once again, just like the other two films, the dialogue in this film is really good. I quoted one with the baddie being like, "Oh no," but then there are some really good scenes as well. There are some very good monologues with Woody Harrelson's character, and then you got a bunch of the references, a bunch of nods to the best quote in this franchise: "Apes together, strong," and also, "I did not start this war. The ape who started is dead. His name is Koba." But my personal favorite line in this film would be, "Apes need food and water," which is what I was referencing in the intro. Yeah, Caesar just being so compassionate to his apes, but by telling them, "Oh, I want them to survive, so make them survive, but don't make them like." Don't make them suffer that long. Yeah, that's great leadership right there. And of course, that ending where Caesar's demise made me really cry. I mean, who doesn't cry in the finale? I guess maybe people who weren't a fan of this movie, but still, it's so such an emotional and impactful ending to this trilogy, to one of the greatest character developments in the 21st century. So overall, while it is a step down from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes is a perfect conclusion to the trilogy. It is the most gorgeous, beautiful, and emotional film in the franchise, with the best arc, from Caesar in this trilogy. Yeah, it is certainly one of my favorite movies, 2017. Although again, I would put it in the lower half of 2017, but regardless, it still deserves that spot. And yes, guys, and yeah, I know this may be the conclusion to the Planet of the Apes trilogy for Caesar, but that doesn't mean we should not have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes could potentially be my favorite in the franchise. And I think we definitely deserve to have a continuation of it, with a new generation of apes and humans. So with that said, I'm going to give War for the Planet of the Apes, of course, 5 stars out of 5. So also for my review of War for the Planet of the Apes, what are your thoughts in the film? Would you agree with me that this movie is a masterpiece and a perfect conclusion? Would this be your favorite in the trilogy? Or would you agree with me that this is the second best in the trilogy, in the franchise, behind Dawn? Or are you one of those people who was underwhelmed by this movie and called it overhyped? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review on War for the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I am seeing in a few hours from now. Bye, guys.